We're here in Dallas at the inaugural College Football Playoff Championship game. Two really high-powered offenses in Oregon and Ohio State. And George, what should we be looking for when Ohio State has the ball?
Well, can Ezekiel Elliott run it? I mean, he had more than 200 yards rushing in each of the last two games, and that reduces the pressure greatly on Cardale Jones. He played really well, but when they have a running game going, it makes it a lot easier on the quarterback.
Yeah, I thought that Oregon's defense did an excellent job covering up Florida State's receivers in that Rose Bowl, but I think this is going to be a different deal for them without Ifo Ekpreolomu because Ohio State's attack is so much more varied. They have a lot more people to throw to. I think it's going to be a much more difficult assignment for Oregon to cover just the number of options that Cardale Jones has to throw to.
I'd agree with that, and we've seen that Cardale Jones likes to go and clearly can go vertical a lot, and that will stress a defense. And again, I come back to the running game. If they're able to run it effectively, then suddenly the play action is there, and who knows what happens. When Oregon has the ball, I'm watching for what happens at the wide receiver spot. I mean, obviously, Darren Carrington being out with the drug suspension is a big deal. They've got this next man up philosophy, but at a certain point, attrition, you reach a tipping point. It'll be interesting to see what that does to their receiving corps.
I'm going to really be looking at field position. That's the thing that really got them on a roll in the Florida State game, was they were able to really flip the field a couple times, get some turnovers and some short touchdowns. I think Ohio State has got to make them go 80-yard drives. You give them a 40 or 50-yard field, you're probably going to get 7 scored on you really fast.
I'd agree with that. One thing that I think is interesting too is the emergence in the Rose Bowl, or the re-emergence of Thomas Tyner, the backup running back, as that gives them a 1-2 punch with Royce Freeman, and it allows Byron Marshall to stay outside as a wide receiver, which could help the Ducks too.
Yeah, I don't know that the receiver depth is going to be a problem as much for them because they do have a lot of options, but there's no doubt that I think they're facing a better defense this time in Ohio State.
You know, Dan, if there's a challenge for one of these coaches, I think it's Mark Helfrich. He has emerged successfully, I think, from Chip Kelly's shadow, but this is his first time on the biggest stage. Meanwhile, Urban Meyer is no stranger to this sort of game. You know, he's won national titles before, so I think Helfrich is the guy here that maybe has the bigger challenge.
Well, I think it's really Urban Meyer because even though he's been to the championship game before, his players have not. This is a little bit new to them, and I wonder how Urban Meyer is going to handle the come-down effect of playing and beating Alabama as a big underdog. You're sort of just riding high after that game, but you've got to come back and refocus and prepare for another great team. I think that's the element of this entire playoff structure that's new, is because you got to really win 2 bowl games, and I think Urban's got the bigger challenge because I think his team did not expect to be here as much as Oregon. My predictions have not really been great during bowl season, but I still like Oregon to win this game. I just think this sets up as their year. From the beginning, you know, they lost, but they were able to figure it out midstream. They got healthy. They've had adversity. I think they are playing really good football at the right time. And the reason I like them to win this game is even though they won the Rose Bowl comfortably, I felt like they still had another level they could get to with their offense. And I think they'll play better in this game than they did in the Rose Bowl, and that's scary.
You know, the thing about Ohio State is I think they impressed everybody with what they did to Alabama. I think they might beat Alabama 3 out of 4 times after having watching them. They really match up well. We talked about the third-string quarterback the whole time. All that said, this team is maybe a year early. This is a team that Urban Meyer thought he might have a year from now, and I still think Oregon is maybe the best team in college football over the second half of the season. Their last 2 performances against Arizona in the Pac-12 championship game and then against Florida State in the Rose Bowl are as good as anything we've seen all year. And so I'm agreeing with you. I've got Oregon by 6, 7, maybe 8 points.